I think all these years probably have our two of clubs in them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's an Achilles heel, if you will, to every year.
Solar babies.
Whoa.
Yeah, I think I got you all on that one.
Yep. I don't know. I do have Masters of the Universe.
Ooh, but that was an awesome fucking movie.
No, it was not.
I love that movie.
I was so
dude.
mad. I was so. You know what made me mad? You know what really made me mad out of the whole thing?
Gwildor.
Honestly, that's it. And the reason why is because there was no fucking Orko.
Nope.
Fuck around with no Orko up in this bitch. This ain't He-Man, motherfucker. This ain't no Masters of the Universe.
Well, whenever you guys are ready to start, we'll start.
All right.
Oh, wait, we got to do the intro, don't we?
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so. Huh?
We haven't done an intro yet?
No, not yet.
I thought you guys had already done that part.
Well,
I wasn't paying attention. Shit.
It's the 80s, ladies and gentlemen.
it's-
It's
it's-
Drop
it's-
Culture.
Yeah, it's the Drop Culture
Podcast.
Podcast Best of the 80s edition.
There you go.
Yeah, that's what we can call this one.
Best of the 80s.
Because we all... no, you didn't grow up in the 80s.
I was born in 87.
Okay, all right. So,
Oddly enough,
Yeah, right.
1987.
Yeah.
So I feel, I don't know if this was everyone's experience, but I lived in a smaller town, and I just feel like things trickled there slower. Does
The
that
video
make sense?
store,
Absolutely.
the video
So-
store. We all grew up in a video store.
I'm getting stuff in the mid to late 90s and early 90s that, is
That had already been there, and you'd seen the cover forever. And you
forever.
decided
Yeah.
to pick
And
it
it's
up,
like, oh man, I need to get Who
That
Framed,
was that was probably one of the most exciting times of any of our lives, really, when we were kids, going to the video store,
Yes.
looking through the horror movies or looking through everything. Your parents are like, pick out what you want.
Yeah.
And it's summertime, so pick out 5 movies, the max, and then
Right.
we'll come back next week.
And you can go get 2 games from the video game section.
Ooh, yeah. If you were lucky enough to get the Nintendo Star Wars, yes. Play whatever game I want. God. Well, as you've listened to any of our other podcasts before, we're big fans of sci-fi, horror, comedy, pretty much everything.
Movies.
Yeah, just movies in general, comic books, and then everything kind of comes together. I think really my year, I chose 1986.
Okay.
Okay, 1986, I think, for me, because by the time these movies were hitting pay-per-view and television, there's no fucking paper. What the fuck am I thinking?
Video, home
video,
release,
and
home release.
hitting home release and hitting on HBO and Cinemax and shit like that is when I watch these movies the most. And that's why I think my year, because I had a hard time with this one because there's so many good years in the 80s for movies.
For sure.
That was not a golden age of movies, but at the same time for us, that was our golden age of movies because we were really paying attention to what was on the screen. We were not knowing who the directors were, we were knowing what the content was. And I think, this year I'm going to start off with not necessarily my favorite movie out of this, and I'm going to pick 3 out of this. I think one of the biggest movies that left a big impression on me as far as movies goes was Platoon. Oscar winner for that year.
Oscar Best Picture that year.
And such a great movie. I remember being just a young kid watching that movie thinking, wow, this is an incredible movie.
For
the way
sure.
that it was done. Vietnam had, it ended a long time ago, but it was still fresh in everybody's mind. So that's why these directors were coming out with these movies.
There's a lot of Vietnam 80s movies and veterans, like guys coming back from Vietnam.
Yeah,
Yes.
and then they get a chance to tell their story.
Yeah.
And one of them, Oliver Stone, filtered that through a film.
But see, and then on the other hand, my second choice would be Top Gun. Top
there you
Gun
go.
was the newer, modern kind of military.
And a big deal.
Yeah,
God, that was
huge movie for
Goose
that time.
dies every time. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, just go put on your favorite Kenny Loggins record and enjoy
Damn it,
that
Iceman.
shit. Yes, enjoy that shit. Val Kilmer, fucking so many people.
Slugger,
just,
you stink.
Well, just like Platoon. Platoon had Keith David. It had
Absolutely.
Charlie Sheen in it. I mean, that was the for the Sheen family. That was their second big fucking war movie. They had Apocalypse Now.
Sure.
Fucking great movie. And then they have fucking Platoon with his son in it. It is crazy. The actors in that, John C. McGinley, yeah, like I said, Keith David, fucking Dale Dye was still doing his thing where he was a little bit on that, where he was a military consultant in it.
Right.
Oliver Stone had a bit role in his own movie. Matt Dillon, Johnny Depp, one of his first movies, great movie. Then you get to Top Gun, and then Top Gun's got fucking Tom Cruise. He was the it guy at that point. Anthony Edwards, Val Kilmer, so many of these younger actors at the time that were hot shots, and they really did, because really, Top Gun was hot shot. It was a hot shot movie, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Those guys are all like
Adventure.
badass, you know.
Hence the movie Hot Shots.
Yeah, they came out later.
With Charlie Sheen.
With Charlie Sheen.
And then I'm gonna say my third one out of my first little round here would be Stand By Me. Now, Stand By Me,
such a great
came out,
movie.
and it's a seminal movie. It's a coming of age story. It's a Stephen King movie
Based on the short story The Body.
Yes, it had Kiefer Sutherland in it. It had the Young
Phoenix.
Guns, pretty much. River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, so many like awesome. Corey Feldman, and who was the last guy? Jerry O'Connell. So that's my first three picks on this kind of round for it.
Okay.
I guess
And that was 1986.
That was 1986.
You will now be addressed as Brock 1986.
1986. I wanted to name our band Dangerous Days 1986. I
Nice.
think I was like,
I said no. I said no.
I think that was a good call.
Yeah, because that leads into Tyson's pick for year.
Yes. So for me, I'm going to go with 1982.
Okay.
And I have several reasons why this is going to be a standout. Would to me would be a standout year of the 80s. A lot of children of the 60s and people who grew up in the 70s are coming about here and making great movies. Like Paul Schrader, he wrote Taxi Driver and Raging Bull, but he directed Cat People, came out this year.
I remember that movie, yeah.
Malcolm McDowell. Also, you got E.T. Spielberg's out there, like you said before, making what would be the modern blockbuster. So E.T.
Never saw it. Perfect.
Yeah.
That is
We've discussed
strange.
it.
Yeah.
I'm still abstaining.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Spielberg.
You're not getting my $5.
This is I like E.T. I always liked it growing up. It spent 16 weeks. 16 weeks at number one.
It was such a big deal, and honestly, even when I was young, my mom's like, why won't you watch this? You know, like when it first, because it took a long time for that movie to come out on video cassette.
Yep.
And they were so excited that it did, and everybody crowded around the TV, and I'm like, nah, deuces.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go play
out.
Nintendo or something. You know,
I got the Nintendo 64.
Yeah. I think that it just. I wasn't into like the cutesy kind of movies at the time.
Yeah.
You know,
it
wasn't
is
my thing.
Right. It is. I
whatever.
would consider it the cutesy family movie, but if you actually watch it, it's about a family going through a divorce.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah,
very
of course.
You know what I mean?
well thought out story,
And
execution.
I love,
everything.
obviously, I love Spielberg.
Yeah.
I do. I like that.
absolutely.
I like
It
that.
has-
But yes, this is the popcorn candy kind of
Selling
comfort.
Reese's Pieces like a peanut, or Reese's Pieces like a
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's what they.
And the video games that were littering, the fucking the
Mexico.
dumps. Yeah,
Alamogordo.
yeah.
Take that, Atari.
So 82's got some great movies this year, and it's a big summer. A lot of stuff's coming out. Like I said, E.T.'s going to dominate, though, and it's going to take over some other movies that aren't going to get the spotlight until later, like The Thing. You guys talked about John Carpenter's The Thing. That's been covered to death. You can check it out in the archives.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah. That's the first part of the Apocalypse trilogy.
Or first part of John Carpenter's Apocalypse trilogy, but the effects and the everything that has to be said about that movie, you guys covered that, and that's another great one that came out that year. So for me, in the 80s, it's going to be 1982. When I look at it as a whole, and I look at everything that came out, the dramas, the blockbusters, the action movies, the horror movies, what's being laid down as a foundation here, as effects work is going to come up. And another movie that I'll talk about later that, I'll leave you with a little cliffhanger here as I pass it off to Dan. Another movie that if it wouldn't have been made, we wouldn't have a lot of the animated movies that we have nowadays. So 1982, Tyson.
Nice. Well, yeah, it was a cliffhanger. No. All right, Dan.
All right. So I chose 1987 And just kind of along the lines of Platoon, I'm going to say Full Metal Jacket.
Yes.
I don't know what else to say
Stanley
about
Kubrick,
that. You can just say it's Stanley Kubrick. It's Full Metal Jacket. It's
Done.
amazing, right?
Done.
Yes.
Obviously, D'Onofrio. There's some decent actors in it.
Jacket.
Well, in the camera work when they get out to Nam and stuff, and like the sniper battle. Oof.
Yeah. I am in a world of shit, Joker.
So that would be probably my first one, just because you mentioned Platoon and it kind of in the same vein. I'll go with number 2 is The Untouchables.
I watched it not too long ago and was not let down because I watched that documentary about Brian De Palma. And I was like, The Untouchables is on. I'm going to watch it. Great fucking movie.
It's an awesome
De Niro,
movie.
right?
Yeah.
It has the...
It has Connery.
Yeah, Sean Connery. But who does De
Kevin
Niro
Costner.
play?
Kevin Costner, Sean Connery, Robert De Niro as Al Capone.
Al Capone, thank you.
Which was the time period for it was just awesome, and the music was bitching.
And that scene on the shootout on the stairs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
the
Battleship
Chicago way.
Potemkin kind of a thing. They drew back all the way back to one of the very first silent blockbuster movies at the time too.
And that'd be my 2. Third, we'll go to a different vein of movie. Predator came out. A little movie called Predator.
God, those guys are so vascular in that movie. Oh, God. They're just fucking ripped.
I mean, as soon as Carl Weathers walked out.
Oh,
you're like,
God,
come
yeah.
on.
Jeez.
You son of a bitch.
They got you pushing too many pencils.
The problem.
Love that
there's
movie,
so
dude.
many quotes that we could just go off.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
that's a part of my childhood a lot.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, and obviously it spawned a whole universe of its own.
Yep. And it
franchise,
intertwined with my I'm not going to say that one yet.
That's because, you know what, that was 1987.
Yeah.
And let's kick it over to Brock with
Okay.
1986. What you got, sir?
Okay, now I'm going to go kind of in a different way too because Blue Velvet came out in 1986.
Yes.
I didn't
Lynch.
find that movie until I was I was much older, getting into the Lynchian movies. The whole
17,
aspect
18?
of it, just fucking crazy.
That's how old I was about that time.
Maybe like 14, 15, started getting into those.
One thing important to remember too was Dune in '84 was not a commercial or critical success.
But we're not talking about 84.
No, but I know. But what I'm saying is, after Lynch had found success with Eraserhead, and then Mel Brooks got him onto
Elephant Man.
The Elephant Man,
Right.
And then that was nominated for Oscars and stuff. And now he's made this big movie Dune, which failed. He comes back with boo, bada bing, bada boom, true to form, Blue Velvet. Ooh, I'm slutty. Ooh.
Such a crazy fucking movie. God,
It is weird.
It is. It's one of those two it's a Criterion movie, and I think anything that gets picked for that, I don't know who's on the board of the Criterion collection, but they pick some pretty cool movies.
Yeah, they just preserve all.
It's a good one. I'm going to go with another Tom Cruise movie because this one I remember my uncle taking me to it, and which was kind of weird because my uncle, I hardly ever hung out with him, but whenever I did, he was either working and I was sitting at home or at his apartment while he was working, which is weird. But he took me to The Color of Money. Oh. And that was a movie, that was another one that, being so young, I didn't know movies as much as I do now, but that kind of put me in a different headspace, instead of the slasher movies and all that. And then you go into The Color of Money with Paul Newman and Tom Cruise.
Well, did you go back and watch The Hustler? Then?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
yeah. Years later, whenever it came on like TCM or something like that.
Minnesota, right?
And that was a fucking. I mean, that movie was still. It was funny. It was cool, and then it had the serious tone to it, and then it just kind of.
That is a great Tom. Tom Cruise proves his worth in that movie when he rips off the handrail. In the stair set. That's a great scene.
Yeah.
When I first saw that, I had watched The Hustler because I went through a little bit of a pool phase. Yeah. And I was playing pool a lot and thinking I was cool, smoking cigarettes, playing pool. And I watched The Hustler. And
As one does in 1972.
This was like
1997.
Jokes,
2002 or something. But anyway, after I watched The Hustler, I was like, oh, there's like another one with the same character, with Paul Newman's character. So when I watched The Color of Money, that I didn't even know Forgot about that coming out. That's a great film.
Yeah,
That's a great film.
It's a good movie.
Underrated, I think. Well, maybe not underrated, but
it
gets its due.
It's on a pretty high list for me. It's just a good overall movie that you can watch at any time and enjoy it.
Yeah.
My third pick on this round would definitely, and I don't know why I'm saying round, but I would say just in my turn here, I would almost go with Three Amigos because Three Amigos is fucking hilarious.
Yes.
I love that movie. The casting was perfect. El Guapo was awesome.
Absolutely.
It's a sweater. I fucking love